come a little closer and lend me your ears. Don't worry, you keep yours while I keep mine.
In each episode, we'll dig into the major stories, uncover the truth, and retrieve gems from Yada's blog.
We'll discuss what's right, bark about what's wrong, wag our tails at the thrill of discovery, and take you on adventures through the exciting world we live in today. So, fasten your curiosity leash and get ready. Right then, coming to you with another episode of the Yada's Vlog on a Blog. Tomorrow's news, disseminated today. Let's dive in.
So I have to ask, Dr. Jeff, is it you, Kevin, or me that Wookie was sticking out his tongue while he was swimming in the pool? That was, I'm not so sure. That was a sign of appreciation. It looks like he's trying to give it to one of us.
I don't know. Wookie's the man. Wookie's the man. I mean, he's being just tongue in cheek. So
not many dogs that have their own yachts.
He's privileged.
Yeah, it's impressive. Hey, Kevin, how are you this morning?
Doing well. Lights are back on, so everything's good here on the island.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You had the fallen tree, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a long night here.
Oh, that's right. So you didn't. Your generator only goes a certain length of time before you need to come up with other alternatives.
Well, I refuel, but it was mostly just Ameren here working to repair things. I mean, I had large equipment working throughout the night, chainsaws. I mean, they had to reset a pole. It was a good time.
Did it just take out power for you personally because it was in your own yard or in the neighborhood?
Yes. Yeah, no. Personally? Well, there is. Yeah, us here on the island. Yeah, we didn't. Nobody else around us, lost any power.
Okay. Well, that was fun, huh? At least they responded. Yeah, at least they responded. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad you've got power again because it was pretty iffy there for a while.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to continue with our series, the Vlog on the Blog, where we get to talk about items in the news, and we have Dr. Jeff with us. And Dr. Jeff, we've had this tendency to interview those that have joined us on the Vlog on the Blog. So I don't see any reason why you should be any different. You and I have quite a history, though. How far does it go back?
Approximately 23 plus years.
Wow. Okay. I'm only about 30 years old, so that's most of my adult life, isn't it? No, I'm 71 years old, and you're in your late 50s, right?
I am actually 64.
64. Okay. Well, if I was going to err, I wanted to err low. I thought that was. You were also in your early 60s.
I appreciate you.
But yes. So my recollection is that our introduction was actually through Prophet of Doom, way back in almost the Tea with Terrorist days, even at the very onset of Prophet of Doom. He went ahead and barely said, I want you to do this. And at the time I was doing a combination of rewriting Ken's material as the Azab chapter of what now become the Azab volume of Yahowah, where I was translating Hosea crudely, but effectively for the first time and posting what I was learning from that about Yahowah, while excoriating Islam through Prophet of Doom. And at the time, I can recall, I must have done 5 or 6 hours of talk radio interviews a day. I mean, and sometimes I would be 3 hours on a single show. And it was just 7 days a week, every day that I was doing this. And there was no one else doing it.
I was mesmerized when I listened, and I found you by the veracity and the audacity you had to speak truth to power about Islam. And I basically was more in the agnostic mode at that time. And I basically came to know Yah through a not uncommon way, and I call it through the back door, through knowing who God isn't, what he isn't, and onwards and forwards, and subsequent to becoming acquainted with your work, Prophet of Doom, I began asking questions, and I was introduced to Yahowah, and we developed a communication to the point that I and my wife at the time were able to come visit with you and Ken on your farm in Virginia.
Yeah, very early on. And it's absolutely true. And what's interesting, of course, is that being Jewish and knowing that I was writing Prophet of Doom to expose and condemn Islam on behalf of Israel and Jews and on behalf of Yahowah, both of us came to know who God is by having a more comprehensive understanding of who he is not. And it was also by doing that, by being systematic in the scrutiny of what is called a religious text, developed a lot of credibility. You know, if you're going to be that disciplined going through a religious text, I was the first person ever to rearrange the Quran chronologically and set it into the Muhammad's life by using the hadith, the two historical accounts and the biographical accounts, to reorder that Quran so that it wasn't a jumbled mess, so that it could be understood in the context of Muhammad's putrid life. And for the first time, the Quran makes total sense. It's a horrible book, and it's a book of nonsense, but it can be understood. And you can understand the menace that is Islam, why it's a terrorist manifesto, why it was a criminal enterprise, why it sponsors apartheid and genocide and has for 14 centuries. It's clear. And it was a really excellent discipline to begin to create credibility then for analyzing the Dead Sea Scrolls and Yahweh's message.
Absolutely. And just the way and the boldness and the truth and the amplification, even at that time, the way you would amplify and explain things and go where the words led without an ounce of trepidation or fear or political correctness or any of the other nonsense is what really struck a chord with me. When I came to the realization that the rabbis of Yathrib were, in essence, responsible for creating the monstrosity known as Islam, that really hit home, and I began to ask more and more questions, and I'm sure we'll discuss it, and it just led one question after another and another, and to just begin with something as simple as the word Rabbi, these miscreants call themselves great and exalted ones, when it's the absolute opposite.
Yeah.
It's
and
inverted.
Of course, there's the telltale incrimination in the Quran, because the Quran is written with a bastardized version of Hebrew. Written Arabic uses the same letters as the Hebrew alphabet, and same verbs and very similar vocabulary. Each of the letters conveys the same sound as it does in Hebrew, and the Hebrew language, of course, is 3,000 years older than is Arabic. And so the Quran was written in Hebrew. And when you realize in the Quran that Allah is not the first God of the Quran, he is like the fifth God of the Quran, maybe the sixth. But all the way through the Quran, Allah is referred to by the rabbinical title. Now, if the numbskull Muhammad, who was illiterate, wanted to say Lord, he would have used a variation of Adon or Baal. Baal is, more typically rendered as husband, and so he probably wouldn't have used it as frequently, but he absolutely would have used Adon, but he didn't. And the fact that he didn't use Adon, and he used a word that does not in any way, shape, or form mean Lord, he used Rabbi as my Lord. And so he was just played for a fool by the rabbis. And because he was played for a fool by the rabbis, he turned on the rabbis and annihilated all of the Jews in Yathrib and in Kabar. I think it's one of the most important findings of our age or of any age is to prove emphatically that the reason that Islam exists and the reason that there is a Quran is that rabbis sold Talmud stories from their Babylonian Talmud compiled between 300 and 500 CE to Muhammad in the middle of the 7th century in Yathrib, which was an entirely Jewish farming community, and that they sold him those Talmud readings because he ran out of material. He had over-presented the Hanif poetry, which was, by the way, also inspired by Jews. The Hanifs were Arab converts to Judaism in Yemen, and there's a very close connection between Yathrib and Yemen with Tuba and the conquest of Yathrib and the interplay between the rabbis and Tuba and how all of that played out and how then Judaism was conveyed down to Yemen. And that's when the Hanif poets came up. That's when the god Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahman was conceived. And it's their poetry that became the basis of the first surahs of the Quran chronologically. But ultimately, there just wasn't enough depth to that to make a religious text. So when Muhammad moved to Yathrib and presented himself as the Messiah, he needed material to solidify his claims. And the only way that he could make his Allah appear like a god is to buy these Talmud recitals from the Jews. He was illiterate, so they had to read them to him or recite them to him, and he paid them for it. But after a while, they started mocking him. And they mocked him because he was attributing them to Allah while twisting them and while repeating them. The story of Adam, as told by the rabbis in their Talmud, is repeated like 50 times. And every time slightly different. It's just really weird. And the story of Abraham, it doesn't come from the Torah. It's the story of Abraham as told by the Jewish rabbis in the Talmud. And on and on to go. The story of Solomon's, the story of Daud. They aren't from the prophets or the writings. They are from the Talmud. And all of it is from the Talmud. And there are huge sections that are just literally taken from one to the other with almost no alteration. And the others are just bent and twisted to suit Muhammad's purpose. And so the rabbis laughed and said, come on, this isn't from Allah. We sold this to you. What in the world are you doing? You're making a fool of yourself. And because they held the receipts, the only way that Muhammad could survive was to kill them, and he did. And that's what turned Muhammad and Muslims against Jews. So to know that rabbis who claim to be great are the source of Israel's most fierce enemy is so condemning of the rabbis that for Jews to know that would be one of the 3 strikes against rabbinical claims of authority that every Jew should know. Because if you know that it was the rabbis who made Islam possible, there is no Islam without them. The Quran is not known. It's not perceived as a religious text. It has nothing in it that would even sniff religion. And Muhammad would have been known as a 2-bit crime boss in the backwoods, the back desert of Arabia. Nothing would ever be known of it had rabbis not done this. That's one of the 3 strikes. There are two others, of course, which, and the worst of them, I think, is that they trained Paul, who created the other enemy of Judaism, of Jews. In fact, the wellspring from which all anti-Semitism today springs is Christianity, and the claim that the Jews killed the Christian God. And Paul, who is the one who conceived the myth of Jesus, and Paul, who's the one who came up with the notion that the Jews killed his mythical God, he was the first person to call himself a rabbi. And he was trained by the leaders of Judaism to be able to do what he did, which is to take statements from the Torah and prophets and the Psalms out of context, but quote mine them, misrepresent them, misquote them, misinterpret them, and then use them to promote a twisted message. That is all rabbinical. And not only did they train Paul to create the Christian religion and to write the first 14 books of the Christian New Testament. Without Paul, there is no Christianity. There is no New Testament. He wrote the first 14 books, and the next 3 are all written by his propagandists, Mark, Luke, and the book of Acts. So they created Christianity. They created Islam. But it's worse than that, because when the religion took root, they held all of the cards. All they had to do is say, read the damn 22nd Mizmor, it's Dode. Read what it said in the 9th chapter of Daniel, it's Dode. Read anything in regarding the prophets, and you will realize, read Isaiah 9, it's Dode. He is the one who is the Messiah. Read the 89th Mizmor. It's Dode who is the Messiah, the Son of God, and he is the one who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim in 33 CE. He was the one who told us he would be crucified 1,000 years in advance. This mythical person that you've conceived is stupid, but they didn't. And instead, the third strike against rabbis is the founder of rabbinical Judaism, a fellow named Akiba. And Akiba is the one who promoted the false Messiah of Bar Kokhba to compete with the Pauline false Messiah of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that caused the diaspora, the torture of hundreds of thousands of Jews, and led to the Holocaust. The false Messiah and the diaspora champion is the founder of Judaism. How could you be so stupid? And so those 3 strikes are enough to kill the religion. And that's why I'm thrilled that you're going to start a series on exposing and condemning the rabbis. They need to be exposed and condemned.
It must be done, Craig, Kevin, and my precious, covenant family. The truth must be told. And while the exposure must be absolutely uncompromising in veracity, the other end of it, and the good part of the story, is that we have to expose and present the magnificent, intelligent, and inspirational message presented in Yah's enduring eternal testimony. So it's a double. It's a double type of
Sword.
We have to do first. We have to expose and come to grips with what happened, and overcome one of the biggest defenses that both religious, non-religious Jews, Christians, and the like will use to blunt the truth by accusing us of being anti-Shemitic, or as the term, the misnomer really, anti-Semitic. It's really anti-Shemitic. I remember going against a so-called expert in Islam who basically, when I brought to his attention that there is no such thing as moderate Islam. That's a crock of garbage.
By the
And
way,
it's
he's come to realize that now.
yeah.
It took him a long time, but he's come to realize that there is no such thing as moderate Islam. There's only
and
Islam.
it was right, and it was the first time I introduced the term to this fellow, as you being philo-Shemitic.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know what I was talking about, but this is part of the challenge that I think I'm going to have. Leah will have. We will be accused of being self-loathing Jews. Well, I loathe Judaism, but I'm a Yahud, and you're not going to stop me from doing what must be done to expose the truth, and you got to be held accountable for what you've done, because it's caused death, destruction, annihilation, brutality. I mean, as you've so well documented, so eloquently, so many times, the dual monsters of Christianity and Islam. You take the rabbinical perfidy, mendacity, hubris, arrogance, sprinkle that with greed and avarice, like those bastards in Yathrib had, and then to mock and make fun of Muhammad. Look at what you've done.
Mm-hmm. Look what you've done. And one of the reasons that you did not succeed with, as Robert Spencer is the fellow's name, is that
Jihad Watch.
Yeah, he's a Catholic. And so you cannot effectively excoriate a religion if you're religious. Impossible. And so the reason that you have the two-edged sword is I'm anti-religious because God is anti-religious. And speaking for Yahowah, I know that God despises Christianity every bit as much as he despises Islam and Judaism. And so when you pointed out to him that I had proven, and I have proven it overwhelmingly beyond any doubt using the Islamic sources, there is 0% question on this. It is an absolute fact that that the rabbis in Yathrib sold Muhammad all of the Talmud readings that are twisted and appear in the Quran, which make up the majority of the last surahs chronologically, and that 100% of the Quran's religiosity comes from the Talmud and those recitals, so that it is rabbis who are wholly responsible for the menace of Islam today. And he couldn't process that. He wasn't smart enough. He wasn't well enough read. He wasn't logical enough. And he was too stained by his own religion to be able to perceive that. Now, who knows if after 20 years of continuing to wallow in this, if he's ever come to realize, oh man, that guy, he was really right. The proof is overwhelming. But then, there's no one else who's done what I've done.
No.
And the reason that these books, this is the Yahowah series, the reason these books are 5 volumes of 825 pages apiece is that that's what it takes to present 100% of the available information. Everything that can be known about Muhammad and the creation of the Quran and how it came to be and what it actually says and what they did in context takes 4,200 pages to present. And that's just sticking exclusively to the material as it is presented in the Hadith and the Quran. And no one else has ever attempted to do that. So they don't understand. They don't really know what the cause or the consequence is. The same thing is true, of course, with the series of Twistianity. The exact same thing has happened. It's the reason we're able to do this, quite frankly, is that I was the first ever to compare what Paul said to what God said. And they don't jive. He never once correctly quoted Yahowah. Never once. You can't claim to represent a God that you can't correctly cite, and that every time you pull a quote from context, you misrepresent it and come up with the exact opposite of what it says in context. You are lying. And it's so obvious. And that's how I proved Christianity is repulsive and wrong and not godly, and that Jesus is nothing but a figment of Paul's imagination. He never existed. And it's easy to prove if you know what Yahweh said and you care to compare what Yahweh said to what I Paul say. So, the reason that you're in a position, of course, to excoriate Rabbinic Judaism on behalf of your people is because you can also excoriate Christianity and Islam, and at the same time speak boldly on behalf of Yahweh, who is anti-religious.
That's the ticket. That's the mission. That's what I see myself wanting to do, and encountering the obstacles, just like you encountered from the Christian elders who you all knew, especially your former
friend, Jerry
former friend from Liberty, Liberty University, told you, if you say what you say, even though it's the truth, you'll be called a kook, and that you belong to a cult. No one will believe you, etc., etc.
And he was right, and he was wrong.
Yeah,
it is true that so many people have been brainwashed politically and religiously that they cannot process evidence and reason. And so no amount of truth, even if it comes directly from God, properly translated from the oldest sources, means anything to them because it's contradictory of their religious beliefs. And so he is right in that regard, but he is dead ass wrong in that it's the single most important thing we can do with our lives.
Yep, absolutely.
I think so.
As an aside, I lost, I, on a personal level, I have two sons who live in New York, and I had an ex-wife that was similar in type of demeanor and personality to yours, and I basically was attacked and sued by rabbis and told I could not see or visit with my sons for a while because I was going to steal their Jewish souls. This is
because according to the rabbi, you can't be Jewish without Judaism. And according to God, you can't be a Yahud with Judaism. So your choices. Do you want to be a Jew with Judaism or a Yahud with Yahuwah? That's your choice, and you can't have both.
Yeah.
They are opposite. I've been translating Isaiah 30. And I have come into one of the most gut-wrenching and yet uplifting prophecies I've ever read. Yesterday evening and today, as I'm translating this, it's like you were just kicked in the gut and have no wind. And as you're falling out of the sky, you've got God's hand pulling you back up. But what the bottom line here is that what I realized is that during the sacrifice where Rahab, Satan incarnate, who we know now to be Donald Trump, is given the opportunity to take my life brutally on the Temple Mount on Taruw'ah, and does so viciously. The overwhelming majority of Jews that have survived up to that point, the end of the time of trouble, are applauding. They're rooting for Satan, for Rahab.
Wow.
The great betrayer. And it's presented so that you see the moon at that point is providing a pure white light, but the sun is pissed. He is absolutely enraged. And so is God. And so why would Dode, who's the greater luminary depicted as the sun, why would he be enraged, furious? And why would Yahweh be equally enraged and furious at the moment of a sacrifice that purges this final remnant? And the reason is that even to the very end, the last day of the time of Israel's troubles, the overwhelming preponderance of Jews are still applauding Donald Trump, who is the great betrayer, who is Satan, and they can't figure it out. And God's sacrifice, his beloved luminary, who is offering his life to lift up that final remnant, they're applauding his vicious death.
Wow.
And so the Messiah, the Son of God, is looking down on this, and he is livid. And so is God. And what this says is that at that time, I want you to know, there is nobody that's worth a shit. Nobody. Even the 1,400 that are brought into Israel and to around the Temple Mount to benefit from the fire and ash and water of this moment of the sacrifice on Taruw'ah, they're stained. They don't know squat. They don't know Yahowah. They don't know what's true. They don't know the conditions of the covenant. They know nothing. They know nothing about the man that's on the Temple Mount that has been speaking to them for the last 3.5 years. They know nothing. The only reason they're there is that they're not so stained. They're not so stigmatized. They're not so toxic and polluted by religion that they can't benefit from a bath. All the rest are too far gone to be cleansed. And so you got some people who are just a little bit stinky, that God says, we can wash them. And given 1,000 years of good example and teaching, we'll get some of them over the finish line. But there isn't anybody that's good. Nobody. And so God is telling you, he's just furious at the stupidity, the arrogance, the ongoing embitteredness, the recalcitrance, the irresponsibility, the religious disgust of his people. So I just want you to know that what you want to do has to be done, but you should expect negligible response.
I get it. And you know what? That's fine. And what you just said is just very biting, cutting, and I don't even want to speak the words that come to my mind.
Because put it in context. He has just said that my murder is the most vicious, vile act that can possibly be imagined. And he's saying that it is purifying and it's whitening. And yet he is just absolutely beside himself in disappointment and righteous indignation because of the way that even at the end of the time of trouble, the vast majority of Jews and Goyim around the world are applauding Satan incarnate, the very man who claims to be a god.
This to me even sounds worse than what happened in the desert with Moshe.
Yeah, but the good news is, the next statement out of God's mouth is, this is how I'm resolving the fall of man. He uses the fall again, coming full circle. The fall of one will cause many to rise. And he says that fractured family, that fractured relationship, he used the term fracture. He said, I'm mending. I'm binding it back together. I'm suturing it back up. I am resolving this with what you are witnessing, at least for these few people. This is the remedy, but don't think for a moment that I'm not angry. And
you talk about
7 times the normal fury that comes from the sun. We're told it's sevenfold at this point.
You talk about the gleaning. It's a lean gleaning.
Mm-hmm. It was amazing, though, to turn to Isaiah 30. The only reason I was translating Isaiah 30 is that, I wrote 3 coming home volumes simultaneously. There's not many idiots that would write 3 books simultaneously, but nonetheless, I was, and it's all because I was being exposed to things that led me in 3 paths. I can't say different directions. They're all parallel, but 3 parallel paths simultaneously. And so I began 3 versions of Coming Home 4. Which are now Coming Home 4, 5, and 6. And Coming Home, what is now 5, it has to end with the retelling of the 89th Mizmor. It is the most exhilarating, piece of literature in human history. And when it's presented from the eyes of Ethan Hodge Rocky and who he is, it is stunningly powerful. And when you understand it in light of the final word picture as it's presented in the 31st Mashal, it is the single most important moment in human history. And so when Ethan gains credibility by showing Dode, who is recalcitrant at this point, that he needs to listen because the person talking to him has skin in the game, big time skin in the game. And that while Dode is going to resolve the guilt of the covenant family, the man talking to him takes out Satan, Rahab. And so he's telling him that in the 89th Mizmor to gain his respect and his attention, because no one heretofore, even God, didn't gain Dode's respect and attention, and it needs to be done. And so he's telling him about Rahab. And so the story of Rahab is told in the 30th chapter of Yeshayah. So after quoting the 2 lines from it, I stuck it at the end of that. It's the final chapter of that book. But after you've done the 89th Mizmor, you got to know when to shut up, right? At that point, you just say, okay, that's as good as it can be. Let's end the book right there. And so I said, all right, I'll take it out of here. It's got to go someplace else. So I want to get Coming Home 4 published. The only way I can do that is I got to get it up over 380 pages to at least 420 or so. What if I just take it over there and I'm going to trust Yah to reveal something in it that speaks of coming home and that's pertinent to these luminaries at this time bringing us home. Mm-hmm. And there it is. It's the whole story of exactly who we are and what we do and the sacrifice we make and the response of God's people. And it was one of the most breathtaking moments in the last 25 years, to tell you the truth. It's so turned out to be something I'll share, because I'm going to take that same chapter. I've got to have to plug it into the story of the Mayorth, which is the volume 6 of Coming Home, as we're studying the Mayorth. I had never gone there. As you know, I've been telling everybody about the prophetic portrait of how the greater and lesser luminaries, the sun and the moon, cooperate throughout time, and particularly during the last days. And I went through the Torah where it begins, and then I went into the Mizmor and talked about it, and then went into some amazing places in the prophets. Yeshayah 13, Yoel 2, and the most amazing story in Jeremiah 31. But I didn't deal with Isaiah 30. And there it is, the sun and the moon, because guess what? They don't use the words sun or moon, but they're talking about the sun or moon. And so here you are, and you have one of the most definitive prophetic portraits of what's going to happen between the sun and the moon. And it's didn't even know it until I came upon it because of the terms that Yah chose. The moon is purifying and white at that moment, and the sun is furious. And that's the words used for both of them. But yes, it talks about the light of both of them. And it's very clear that's the light of these two luminaries, but how they're presented there is gut-wrenching. So it's the joy of continuing on this journey. And one of the things you said is that I was using Amplified Translation in a very different way to go about it. That was 23 years ago. We had settled upon a completely unique, totally original, exceedingly beneficial way to present the testimony of Yahowah through these amplified translations that fill those 35 books on the shelf at yadayah.com. No one had ever come up with anything even remotely similar to it. And it's the exact same process we have used ever since.
And when you start going over the Dead Sea Scrolls and going into Yah's word using the same mechanistic approach, it just is so, enlightening, enriching, thought-provoking, and if you allow yourself to just free yourself and unlearn what you've learned and get away from your cultural biases, then you have the ability to just set yourself free, because what you put forth and what you've been credited with, rightfully so, by multiple prophets, by Yah, is that what you are doing is presenting the elixir for life, eternal life in Shamayim. And it's up to you whether or not you'll accept it.
Correct. Yeah, it's interesting that God's whole approach has never been properly articulated, and that God actually spends more time condemning religion than he does promoting his relationship. And so do I. And the reason is that until you scrub the mind and clear the mind of religious rubbish, you're not in a position where you can even process what God has to say. And, it's not enough to condemn Islam or Christianity. One takes courage, the other one takes intelligence. You have to also condemn Judaism, the religion God hates the most.
Yeah.
And if you don't condemn Judaism, then it is all for naught, because you're not going to reach God's people. The 99.9999% of Jews do not know that there's something dreadfully wrong with being called a Jew. They don't know that there's something dreadfully wrong with Hashem. They do not know that there's something dreadfully wrong with the rabbis and the Talmud. They don't know these things. They think that it is appropriate for them to celebrate their Jewishness by a 7-day Passover holiday or high holy days that begin with Rosh Hashanah. They think that it's cultural and appropriate to be celebrating Purim when the book of Esther is a complete fabrication, a total lie, and Rosh Hashanah happens to be a Babylonian holiday. They don't have any appreciation of these things. No. And because they don't have any appreciation of these things, they don't know that Hanukkah and a 9-candle menorah is a absolute giving God the bird. You might as well spit in his face.
It's an anathema. It's an anathema.
And so they don't know these things. And until you can expose them to these things, they're not going to process what God has to say. It will not resonate with them. They'll choose all day long the history of the rabbis and the voice of the rabbis and the arrogance of the rabbis over Yahowah. That's what they have done all along. That's what they continue to do. And so our voice must be shrill. It must be tough. It must be tenacious. You've got to be in their faces.
We've all lost many people who at one point in our lives were near and dear to us.
Yes.
Family, friends. I mean, I lost my best friend when I basically attempted to educate him about Akiba and what he's responsible for. So be it, and so on and so forth. But just to take even the religious, they're a lost cause. But what I find the most challenging is those who are not religious, who are intelligent, who for a while you even dealt with in the cesspool known as X, who have thinking, logical brains and for many different topics and issues. But you talk to them about Pesach. They don't know what Matzah is. They don't know what Shabuw'ah is. They know about Rosh Hashanah. They know about Yom Kippur. They know about Purim. They know about Hanukkah. And it's you basically, as you say, you have to purge.
Correct.
You have to purge. It's like lancing a boil. You've got to get rid of the poisonous, the pus.
There's no healing.
There is absolutely no healing um, whatsoever. And while I think that someone like Leah or myself, if we could do it, why can't you do it?
Correct. Yeah, and that's really God's point of view. And I think that the reason that I've been at this for 25 years and we've had this learning curve all the way through and been reliant on what we have learned from the prophets is it was always there. It was always possible. And our growth has demonstrated it was possible to know the truth and to migrate to the truth. And so what's their excuse? They should have none.
There are no excuses, Craig. I mean, I've been battling, this nonsense about Mount Sinai, which is another myth. Hashem presented the oral Torah, which is garbage, or that they talk about.
Where does Yahowah once mention an oral Torah? Give me one example. Where does he once mention a rabbi?
It's basically the same as like Jesus Christ. It's the same.
All he says is to Moshe, I want you to write this down. And as it relates to the 70 elders, he said, keep them away from here. And he says, I want you to write this down. And he wrote every word of it down. So, no, there is no oral Torah. In fact, not only isn't there an oral Torah, 100% of the people who created the Babylonian Talmud lived 2,000 years after
that's correct.
The Torah was revealed. They're sitting there arguing with one another, and they're nincompoops.
They're nincompoops. As you say, it's these fools will even say that they call him Moshe Rabbeinu. No, Moshe was not a Rabbeinu. Okay, no. And you point to them. Look anywhere in the Torah. What does Ihaya Asher Ihaya mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I am who I am, and tell the children of Israel, my one and only name that I want to be remembered is Yahowah.
Yeah, what shall I tell the truth? Who said? Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that the Torah despises the children of Israel.
Yeah.
So for the rabbinical types to take their Torah and dress it up like a whore and prance around with it and kiss it, shows they've got no understanding of what it says. The Torah excoriates religion. Every nuance of that Torah demeans the children of Israel and religion, and it is an exceedingly anti-religious book. And every time we turn around, the children of Israel were trying to either stone, kill, or rebuke Moshe. So for them to pretend that Moshe is their rabbi means that they're clueless as to what the book says. Absolutely curious. And there is no Hashem in that book.
There is no Hashem in that book. It's a bunch of lies, myths, fallacies. It's like saying that Ruth converted to Judaism. I think it's important also to bring out, what is
Miriam was treated unfairly by God. She
Miriam,
was right in condemning Moshe's wife.
Yeah, that's why she's the example for divorce. That's why she was stricken with leprosy. That's why Yah basically spit in her face. The Talmud stands on two legs. You have something called the Mishnah, which is purportedly the rabbinical laws. And then you have something called the Gemara, where the miscreants, misfits, malefactors debate and analyze and go over every word nuance that's in the false Mishnah to explain what God really meant, because you can't read, you can't understand what it says in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Well, plus they don't want to talk about what's in the Torah, because if they talked about in the Torah, they'd be self-condemning. It would be suicidal. So they have to create their own impression of their own religious doctrine and then argue about it. And then they've called their arguments over their own myths Torah.
Yeah, it's anything but. And then I'll get you're going to listen to someone who's a goy. A goy. We are the rabbis. And I say, we are the teachers. I said, don't give me that. First of all, the word for teacher is moreh. Rabbi does not mean teach.
No, it
okay?
doesn't.
You're an anti-teacher.
Lamed means to teach. It's the verb to teach in Hebrew. Moreh means Torah. Moreh would be Torah teacher.
A Torah teacher.
Moreh is Torah teacher. It's from Yara, the basis of Torah. And Torah itself means teacher, to teach and to guide. And Lamed is the Hebrew word for learning and for teaching. Yeah, so I would always respond to someone who says that what matters, your soul or your body? What matters, your soul or your body?
Your soul is where it's at. Your body is.
Does your soul have DNA? No. So can your soul exhibit any ethnicity?
No.
Nada.
No. Okay. So let's start there, and let's say that the only thing that really matters to God is your soul, and the soul has no ethnicity. So
Correct.
the idea there is that we need to take a very different look as to what your argument is. What you're trying to do is negate the voice of truth and of God by putting that person in a box, and that box doesn't actually work. Now, the second thing that I would say is, was Abraham a Jew?
No.
How about Adam before him?
Lo.
Noach.
No.
Shem.
No.
No. Okay. Sarah, was she Jewish?
No. Chaldean.
Okay. And how about Yishak, their son?
No.
Babylonian, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then Rachel? Babylonian.
Babylonian.
Yeah. How about Esau and Jacob? Are they Jewish?
No, they're not. They're not.
No,
not until
nor were Leah and Rebecca, Leah, Rachel. Any one of them Jewish?
No.
The first person that could be considered Jewish, if you want to completely destroy the proper terminology, would be the son of Jacob and Leah, Yahud. That would be the first, wouldn't it? That'd be the first person who could be called Jewish, except for the fact that Jewish is a worthless term that has no correlation with anything that God had to say or any group of people. And it wasn't even invented until the 17th century.
Correct.
And Yahud is beloved of Yah, which they're not anymore. But the first person who could be called Jewish was Yahud.
Was Yahud. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the first one.
By the way, and by the way, isn't the most famous of all Yahud a fellow named Dod, which they've changed to David? But isn't that?
Yeah.
How about his grandmother? His grandmother was she Jewish? No, she wasn't. Ruth was not at all, was she? So, maybe you have a problem here with your ethnicity. When Yahweh in the 29th chapter of Devarim, Devarim is in the Torah, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, and you want to make Moshe your rabbi? You're going to assume that? Can I correctly assume that Devarim is inspired by God? Doesn't he have an entire chapter devoted to the Nakry?
He does.
And is there any way to make the Nakry Jewish?
He does not a liar.
No, and doesn't it tell you that the Nakry is going to be this fellow that comes in the last days when the world resembles Sodom and Gomorrah again, and when it's being destroyed by nuclear holocaust, that the person that's going to be the voice that draws you away from all of that is an observant foreigner. How do you rectify that unless your head is up your behind?
Well, that's where it is. But I'm sure you could find a rabbi who'd be willing to circumcise you 3 or 4 times for $1 to do it.
Oh, for $1 for anything. And they're not coming near me, but for $1 for anything. Or cleanse your kitchen so that your dishes don't cohabitate with meat and dairy.
Yeah.
Where does Yahowah articulate kosher laws? The fact is he doesn't. He doesn't. And that's the reason that rabbis claim they can justify the Talmud in Judaism, because God didn't establish kosher laws. So somebody has to tell you what you can and can't eat so we can make a buck.
I shared with Kevin, and I'm sure I've shared with you, just something that's kind of funny, but it's not funny, is that the rabbis go into overdrive at the time of what they call Passover, because something you have to have specially kosher. It's a special kosher because you have to be without leaven. Forget about it without the fungus and without yeast, which is the fungus. You have to buy mops and sponges that have been kosherized. Well, when I was a young
makes a buck.
When I was a young man very young in New York, it was around the time of the Passover, and my family did not like Rabbi.
Did you have an offensive mop?
Yeah, my mom and my grandfather did not like rabbis at all. They did not like rabbis at all.
Leah's grandmother, yes.
Oh, they thought they were crooks. So the rabbis have a right-hand man called they call them, they're these, like, they report to the rabbi.
Yeah.
Well, this guy was
religious police. They have them in Islam too.
Yeah. Putting stickers on things for kosher for Passover. So my mom walked over to the guy and says, "Excuse me, why are you putting a kosher for Passover sticker on a pork roast?"
Because I was paid to put these stickers on stuff.
Okay. The last one, just to lighten it up for a moment, that I'll share with you, is my grandfather was really off the wall with the rabbis. He couldn't stand them. They used to have these trucks, these mobiles called the mitzvah mobiles. You know, according to the Rambam, you have 613 mitzvot that you have to fulfill if you want to be a good Jew.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be equivalent with the number of bones in the human body. But how many bones are there in the human body?
The adult body has 206 bones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not 613, is it?
It's not 613. That's not 613.
He lied, didn't he?
Lying is being kind.
Okay.
He was a Muslim obsessed with the number 19 and
the moon.
And the moon. So anyway, these mitzvah mobiles would scour around New York in Jewish Yahud areas where Jews lived, and then you have these weasels with the Orthodox Jews with the those wonderful curlicues and the hats.
Oh yeah, curlicues, yeah.
They'd pop out,
and
they basically they would want to.
Appropriate, I guess.
They'd want to get you into the mobile to put phylacteries on you, to put the tefillin and the box on your head.
Yeah, box boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do you find the box? Where do you find the box in the Torah? It doesn't exist, does it?
Doesn't exist.
There's nothing in the Torah that says you should put a box on your head or on the back of your arm. No place. It's all
no place.
Rabbinical. The little tassel that the tizzit they wear. Yeah, God speaks of it. He's saying no. It's a blue flower, and it's hidden under
the garment,
the inseam of your garment, so that you see this blue flower, and you are reminded that this is the time of Chag Matzah, and you understand the correlation between Chag Matzah and heaven, and it's to remind you of that. It's not to dangle and just look sloppy and look like you're a religious moron.
Right.
By the way, where in the Torah does it talk about a kippah?
It doesn't.
What about black mourning suits?
That's Eastern European death cult.
Yeah, the Haredi form of Judaism, which is the only form really that's acceptable in Israel today. When was it conceived?
Oh, we're talking about. Let's go back to the time around Baal Shem Tov.
Oh yeah, the Lord of the good name, and he was he an Israelite?
Can you say
where did he live?
Can you say Ukraine?
Oh yeah, he was a Ukrainian. Yeah, was it the 18th century? when that nonsense was conceived? Oh, and the star, the 6-pointed star, that there is both a religious symbol and a patriotic symbol. Isn't that the star that the Roman Catholics and then the Nazis used to perpetrate the Holocaust?
Correct.
Why would anybody in their right mind wear the most despicable symbol of the most horrific act that humans ever perpetrated against a group of people? And you're going to say, oh boy, I'm wearing that star. Yeah, they made me wear the star, but there's nothing to keep me from wearing that star.
It's beyond Stockholm syndrome on steroids. That's what it is. It's a mentality bred upon lack of confidence and just overall weakness, and not having knowledge, and especially not having understanding.
Yeah, let's overreact to Alaska flood on 10/7 by destroying Gaza, and particularly thinking that we're eliminating Hamas, who's still in charge of Gaza and still armed. But let's lie about that anyway, and let's absolutely obliterate Gaza and think that we can survive that politically in the world, that won't turn the entire world on us, that we just committed suicide.
It's double, triple, quadruple, whatever, quintuple it down on stupid, beyond stupid.
It's going all in on stupid. You got, a deuce and a tray, and you're playing against a full house, and you go all in.
So anyway, just to conclude the story is that one of these guys, they jumped out and they asked, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? And I'm like, yeah, what do you want from me? The guy, without saying a word, tries to strap something. I was about 10 years old, strap the tefillin on my arm. My grandfather grabs him by his neck and says, if you don't remove that from his arm right now, I will strangle you with your tefillin. He used a little salty language. Get them out of here. So they just jump into their mitzvah-mobile and just take off.
Mm-hmm.
Mitzvah-mobile.
It is a repulsive religion. It's the mother of Christianity and of Islam. So it is literally the mother of whores.
It's the birth, basically, without rabbinical perfidy, mendacity, hubris, arrogance, and avarice. There is no Christianity. There is no Islam.
No, it probably is no Marxism.
That's another, what we used to call the Marxist secular humanist. That's another avenue that
the first Marxists were kibbutzim. The first socialist enclaves were the kibbutzim in Israel. Even before Israel existed as a nation, they formed kibbutzim of Jews. It's the first practice of communism. Marx is Jewish. They have been their own worst enemy, and God is just disgusted with them.
It's amazing how he keeps his word. He does what he says he's going to do, and he will do it, and he will succeed. We know he will. We go through Yashia 63. The mission will be complete. As we talk about Tamim, it will be finished and completed. Yes. But till you get there, by basically accomplishing what you do is the Adam of Parah, by basically reversing the divorce decree from Hosha and bringing together Yahud and Israel for that time on Kippurim. Not Yom Kippur, when you're supposed to afflict yourself. It's called Kippurim, reconciliation. Okay.
By the way, just out of curiosity, if you're going to reconcile a relationship, do you debase the other party? Is that the best way? That would be Trump's way. I'm going to reconcile a relationship with Iran by destroying them. Is there any place in the Torah where God says, twirling chickens over your head, that'd be a good idea. That's what I think that we ought to be doing. We ought to be debasing ourselves. I want you to be humiliated. It's the way we're going to reconcile our relationship.
No,
By the way, well, what does Passover actually represent?
it's actually the doorway to eternity, a doorway to life. It is not liberation from.
So it's the doorway to life. All right,
Yes.
and Dode opened it through crucifixion in 33 CE, as he had foretold.
Yes.
What happens if you're immortal and you still carry your religious guilt?
You end up spending eternity in the wrong place, known as Sheol.
You do, okay. How is guilt removed from us? There's only one way that it, apart from the mortal remnant that enters the garden in 2033, 7 years from now. Apart from them, 100% of those who are purged of their guilt, how does that occur?
Knowing what transpired and fulfilling the 5 conditions and knowing what happened on Chag Matzah.
Oh yeah, Chag Matzah. Okay. So in Rabbinic Judaism, do they acknowledge that Chag Matzah is the 7-day celebration and that Pesach is only the first day of it? Or do they turn Passover into a 7-day celebration without matzah?
They have it backwards. They call it Passover. It should be Chag Matzah with day number 1 being Passover. Mm-hmm. They even have the audacity and arrogance and hubris to create something called a Haggadah, which is a little booklet of bullshit.
So what happens? Dr. Jeff, what happens if you celebrate Passover and you don't observe matzah?
You end up in hell.
So what have rabbis done to Jewish souls?
They've basically condemned them to either go to hell or to be extinguished or expunged.
That's what
those are the two ways. That's what they've done.
This is. That's why we speak out against it. That's why Yahowah speaks out against it. That is what they have done.
Yes.
It's tragic, isn't
it? That's why I get heated about this, and that's why I find it very tragic, and that's why I get very angry and upset when either Jews or non-Jews have the audacity to come at us, especially you and Leah, when you are trying to do the very thing to preserve and save life, promote life.
You, Dode, and Yahowah, all of us have the exact same response to that. You know what I'm proud of, Kevin?
What's that?
I got a reason to be proud.
Yeah?
You know what? 25 years into this, there is the likes of Dr. Jeff.
Absolutely.
Grown, mature, responsible, articulate, reasonable, a man of immense conviction and character. If at the end of your life you have a Dr. Jeff to say, this is the fruit of 25 years of labor, then you've lived a good life.
Oh,
absolutely.
And when you consider how few Yahuwdym, how few Israelites have come to the position where he is over the last, less than 4,000 years that there have been Yahuwdym and Israelites, to claim a few makes our effort unique in all time.
Yeah.
And look at Moshe's experience with Yahowah. There were only two. Yosha and Koleb. That was it. Look at Dode's time. I mean, you could count them on 2 or 3 fingers, and none of them really were a product of anything Dode did. They came to the truth apart from him.
Right.
And it is so rare that a member of the tribe comes to know Yahowah and can defend Yahowah and defend the Messiah Dode and to be part of the covenant family, that it is a life well lived.
2 or 3 off the top branch, I think is the term Yah uses for it. So it's
2 or 3
good
off
stuff.
the top branch. And he says that's satisfactory for me.
Yep. Shadaleh, yep.
I have to accept that I appreciate the real kind words, but I remember something you said to me so many years ago when I first started learning about Yah, and it's really stuck with me. And you said to me at one point early on that if I've done the writing that you had done up to the point, if this can help you to know Yah, come to understand Yah, then it's all been worth it to me. And I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. And now 20 plus years later, that is my conclusion. It's worth the effort. Now, I was always going to gain personally from everything that I did, and I have. And now there are many who have also gained. And my lovely wife is one of the great beneficiaries too, and she is Yahud. And many of those who have taken the old spit test here recently recognize there's a lot of Jewishness in them. But living a life that brings God's people back to Him is important, which is why the Nakry is probably the single most spoken of all prophetic figures. The rabbis don't want to tell you about it, but the fact is there is no mention of a future Messiah that comes back as a warlord to save Israel. That does not exist. But there is a whole lot of prophecy, lots of it, about a Nakar and Nakry that do this very thing.
What they'll do is if you mention a Nakar to a rabbi, they will pervert, dissimulate, confabulate, and condemn the Nakar, because they realize who I believe that they do realize who he is, and it's a threat.
It's clear. Martin 29 and First Chronicles 6 makes it emphatic who he is.
It's a threat to them.
The whole book of Yeshayahu, Isaiah.
And let me just say that I think it's so important what we recently just discussed regarding soul and the body, is that this is real family, and that
what counts.
We are all linked together. So this ethnic arrogance and haughtiness that some Jews have, I find very distasteful. And we are all in the same family. And
now, what's interesting, Dr. Jeff, is that the juxtaposition of this reality that souls have no ethnicity, and the soul is all that matters, and the fact that Yahweh is all in with a Nakry, an observant foreigner, those two things sit side by side. And the reason they sit side by side, and by the way, it doesn't change in the end. When God's speaking of how He's going to administrate the celebration, the 1,000-year celebration of Sukkah here on earth, He still speaks of the administrator being a foreigner. Somebody comes from a foreign land. That poignant bit about the slaughter of this man and the result of it, God says that He brings my name from a faraway place. So God is never, ever going to forget that His people were so far gone, He could not reach His people through them, that He had to go to someone else to get their attention. Now, to be fair, the person that He went through has been a Yehud, Boaz. But he's been there lots and lots of times. Now, as Ethan Hajraki, when he was deployed, that's not a Yehud. And your Noach's not a Yehud, and Chanuk's not a Yehud. And yet they're the most important people in God's story.
Yeah, Yada, I think it's you spoke to the point of Dr. Jeff getting it and how proud that makes you.
Yeah, it does. It is.
I liken it very much to the for lack of a better analogy, father and son. That you're proud of your son. But just think of how proud you're going to be when the grandchildren come along. I mean, there is a special bond between grandchild and grandparent that father child don't have, right? And so
you want to
branching out,
consider Ethan Hozraki as Boaz, and you know who Boaz's great grandson was, don't you?
Yeah, Dode, yeah.
Dode. Yes. You're 22 years younger than I am, aren't you?
I am, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're young enough to be my son too.
Mm-hmm.
And when God speaks to the covenant family, you're all my children. You are. I mean, it's just what God says. If you could be older than I am in this particular life, you can't be a whole lot older than I am in this particular life because I'm really old. You can't be older than I am altogether because there's only one. Right. There's really only two souls that can claim to be older than I am altogether. That would be, three: Adam, Taruw'ah, and Cain would be the examples. But because the first Chinook is Cain's son, second Chinook is 6 generations from Adam. But the fact is that the covenant family is the Nakars. Mm-hmm. The Choder. He's the father of the covenant. That's the reason why the story of Boaz and Ruth is told. That's why it's so central to our understanding. It's why it comes almost immediately after the Torah and before any of the prophets.
Yeah, it's the nature of Yisrael, because there is only one Yahud and there are 11 other tribes out there, you know? So,
and the Yahud of the is a name that blends Dode's name and Yahweh's name. It means beloved of Yah. And if you were a Jew, you weren't a Yahud. You have written Yahweh and Dode out of your life. You've written the Messiah and God out of your life if you have changed yourself from a Yahud to a Jew. One of the great travesties of the history of God's people is to write God and their Messiah out of their lives. You know, we're an hour and 17 minutes into our vlog on the vlog, Dr. Jeff, and the reality is that you get us together and we could talk for days, and we often do. And I'm delighted to have you on the program because of the fact that there are so many meaningful things that we can convey and reinforce with one another. And I think that the message is compelling for Israel. But we are doing a vlog on the vlog. And that means that we do need to at least start that timer and do 15 minutes on the news. So I would beg your indulgence, and let's switch to, we'll do 15 minutes on the news, and then you and I will go on from here. But also, since you're going to start a program here shortly, and we need a catchy title, we'll get Leah to create a beautiful thumbnail for you on rebuking Judaism. Then I would even strongly encourage you to get Leah to be your co-host on it, because she has a lot to say on that same subject. But it's a really powerful message that I'm glad you're going to pick up, and I'm glad you're doing. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity, and it's just the very least that I contribute.
Yeah. All right. The first thing that I had on my unused Facebook page is this is what's he didn't have to disappear. Oh, you've lost your voice, Kevin, and Dr. Jeff disappeared.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think he's got to go to work. We talked earlier today.
Okay.
He said he had 90 minutes for us.
Right. Okay, all right. Well, then, thank you, Jeff. The first picture here is Trump gives a bizarre message at a half empty. I mean, look in front of the stage and where the speakers are. What are there? Yeah, 30 people and positioned for speakers. Then a stage that's set up for 100,000, and you've got 30 people. I mean, this reminds me like of the Erica Kirk was going to have, and I think it was someplace in Georgia, going to have this reunion because you need the big bucks. Got to pass away the tray, the collection tray. And 5 minutes before the event were to start, and it's an event that had a message from Trump and a live visit from the from JD,
Vance.
who's got really, he's got a crush on her, and they're like 200 people in a auditorium in an arena that was designed to hold 15,000.
Yeah.
I mean, the Twistians have done themselves so much harm by endorsing Trump. MAGA has been disastrous for the appeal of Twistianity, and this is what you say. The anti-Trump crowd can gather 7 to 9 million people on a day. 7 to 9 people around the country on a single day of protest, and the pro-Trumpers now can gather 30. If you put people behind the stage, let's call it 300.
Even still, yeah, it is definitely losing steam doesn't cover it. I mean, it is crashing and burning the whole.
Yeah.
MAGA.
Imagine being so lost that you will immorally support, as if he were the second coming of a Messiah, a man who is a convicted rapist, who is admitted on open mic to being a pedophile, who has taken all manner of bribes, who is a confabulator and lies about almost everything, who presents himself as if he was a god and a dictator. And he is actually Rahab. He is Satan incarnate. He is your Antichrist, and you are the ones responsible for him, and you support him. You've turned guys like Charlie Kirk into national heroes for promoting this repulsive man and commingling Christianity and MAGA politics. You're that out of your mind.
Yeah, and still hanging on. I mean, the ones that are still hanging on, it is a absolute study.
It's the same 38%. They don't change. And they're as empty-minded as the grass field there is on the mall.
The other part of that story is that he doesn't even show up for it. I mean, he was supposed to be a speaker or have a message going, and they play some taped message from back in April, and people are going, "What is this about?" So
it's up because Trump only wants to play to a big crowd, which means he can't do a public performance anymore because unless it's in front of the military where you're forced to attend, he got nothing.
Unbelievable.
What you got there next?
Oh, the shooting in San Diego, followed up by overlaps with the shooting we just had in San Antonio. Or Austin. I'm sorry, it was Austin.
The opposite
Austin.
side. The Austin shooter was a Muslim and shot a bunch of people up, and this shooter is anti-Muslim and shooting up near a mosque. Let me make it just really clear that if you are so stupid that you're going to use bullets to oppose Islam as opposed to words, then that first bullet ought to be right.
Do us all a favor.
Yeah. You're not going to hurt anybody if you do that because your life is worthless. There's nothing up there that you're going to damage if you blow your own brains out because you don't have any. The fact is that a person that uses bullets, just like what happened in Gaza, if you're using bullets to fight your religious war, then you're going to make it worse. And this idiot did. Learn to use words wisely. No one despises Islam more than I do because no one knows the religion better than I do. And yet all I ever use to expose and condemn Islam are words wisely wielded. And the world needs to do that. There's 5 volumes of this series. Read it. When you've read it, and you've absorbed what's in there, then speak. But between now and then, don't. And don't act. And most certainly don't shoot. You just made the situation much worse. You've created sympathy for those who do not deserve it.
Absolutely. These were kids too. This one in San Diego, I mean, they were both of them were under 18 years old. The one it's.
I can no longer say that Gen Z is a completely worthless generation because we have some Gen Zers in the Covenant family that are extraordinarily bright and gifted and committed and intelligent. But for the most part, this is a generation that has been destroyed by the educational system, indoctrinating them, and by an online environment that creates an artificial world that such that they can't relate to the real one anymore. And it's why, you know, and I said so many times when we see young people committing violent acts is that they just don't know any better. They're so lost in the online gaming world that they don't have any sense of judgment or fair play. And you know, in the online world, you die or kill somebody, you just reboot and start all over again. Well, it's not true in life.
Yeah.
Sad. Okay, this is an interesting thing. It's something I've been saying for a very long time. If you actually follow the deficit curve in America and also economic downturns, most of them occur under Republicans. Republicans bankrupt the country faster than do Democrats. And this person that posted this, of course, is a Marxist and does not understand that both parties are equally guilty. Just because the economy craters under Republicans and Republicans spend more and increase the deficit faster than do Democrats does not exonerate the other party. For example, we are always want to talk about, like Trump says, well, the economy is doing so much better in my first year than it did under Biden. You had no influence over the first year. That was Biden's budget, not yours. Your influence will start late in your second year, and it will run through the first year of whoever replaces you. And they're not smart enough to figure that out. But beyond all of that, the reason that this happens is that Democrats destroy productivity. Socialism, Marxism absolutely destroy productivity. They bring everybody down to the lowest level, and they make it almost impossible to be productive and to be in business. And then the Republicans bankrupt what's left. They're the ones who overspend. And the reason that they spend more than Democrats is because the opposing party is expecting the Democrats to have all manner of malfeasance in their spending, and they're cautious. But Democrats don't mind big government spending, and Republicans trust their own party. And therefore, when the Republicans bribe voters through grotesque spending plans like the Big Beautiful Bill, they get passed because there's no one opposed to them. And so it is the Republicans that bankrupt the country in terms of excess spending, and it's the Democrats that stifle productivity. So it's both.
Yeah, between the two line items of social welfare programs and military spending, you know, there's nothing left for anything. Why do we have government, right?
No.
I mean, honestly,
the military, Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid combined are enough to bankrupt the country. They're impossible to support. They're both Ponzi schemes, and they are grotesquely inefficient and ineffective. And then the U.S. military is a joke because it's funded with funny money, and it's a boondoggle. It has no accounting system. There is no accounting for anything in it, and everything it does, like the $1 trillion on the Golden Dome, it's not going to protect America from a single missile. Not one. It's going to be deflected. For $1 trillion, all just squandered. So, you know, you look at the most expensive military weapon ever built, the Gerald Ford. The toilets don't work. The laundry room. Instead of dryers, they have fires. Damn near burned that ship to the ground, or to the bottom of the sea. It had to be withdrawn. We're hopeless, just literally hopeless as a nation, and we've been belligerent for so long. I'm sorry.
Two entities that never get audited are the Federal Reserve and the Pentagon. So where was Elon on those, right? With his Doge.
Oh, yeah, well, of course not. You know, AI was touted by Elon, speaking of Elon, as it's going to make everybody prosperous and it's going to create an environment. Nobody has to work anymore. You're just going to have total utopia. You're going to have robots that are meeting every one of your needs, and everyone's going to be paid money just to live and to squander, and everybody's going to be like millionaires without ever having to work. Not so much. AI did exactly the opposite, didn't it? Elon lied. It's robbing people of jobs. It's taking even those who have prepared to do things intelligent, electrical engineering, information scientists, computer science, communications, civil engineering, finance, accounting. It's robbed them of their job opportunities. And when people don't work, they don't work. Humanity requires work to be of any value. And to rob humans of work is to destroy their merit. And that is what AI is doing. It's put America out of work. Congratulations. You destroyed the country. And the people went along with it, just like COVID, you know. Put a little ring in their nose, they'll give up their freedoms, they'll give up their livelihoods. A little fear porn, a little real porn. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Lie to me all you want. I'm not smart enough to oppose it. Is there kind of the mantra? And AI has done all those things. It's completely ruined social media. So now there is no media because the mainstream media was exceedingly biased and dishonest on both sides. And social media now is nothing but a swamp of lies, all because of AI.
The data centers have been a really big topic lately with water rights and things like that. People really being upset, and those are all driven by AI. Those data centers are not something, right? You know, they're not.
Yes,
they're not something that is.
How much less water is there on the planet today because of data centers?
I wouldn't have no idea.
Zero.
I mean, the water didn't go anywhere, right? It's just in a different place for sure.
Well, no, water didn't even move from one place really to another. Water is always recycled. That's the thing about water. It's exactly the same amount of water on the planet now that there was 1 billion years ago. Water rights is just unbelievably stupid. Water is just a matter of distribution, and if you have a system of distribution, then you know what you're doing. It's a resource to be used and deployed and properly reused and distributed. And so to have an argument over water rights, it takes me back to California, which is why I left California. It's just stupidity. It's I learned to distribute water appropriately. Heck, the Romans did it 2,000 years ago. Why can't we do it? But we just don't. We can't do anything effectively anymore. And then the second is energy generation. But everybody is opposed to the most appropriate ways. Using water to generate electricity is spectacular, but they want to tear down the dams. And using wind, and they want to tear down the wind farms. And using solar, and they really don't want to do that. They want to have an electric vehicle, but they're just happy to have fossil fuels and coal make the electricity for it. Plenty of energy on the planet. We ought not be having this argument other than, and the fact is too, that every one of the data centers that consumes electricity pays for the electricity they consume. So it's really not, you're not taking anything from anybody. Now, I am opposed to AI. I think that while there are some slivers of opportunity where AI has an advantage, for the most part, I think AI is exceedingly destructive to humanity's ability to think and for news reporting to be accurate and for work ethic.
AI did not come cut the tree off my power line last night. That's for sure.
No. Oh, this is so unbelievably stupid. It's astonishing that anyone believes Trump after all of this. So the Financial Times started promoting a story that turned out not to be true, but they're continuing to double down on the story. And so other news outlets are picking it up, where allegedly Z told the Donald that Putin might regret his invasion of Ukraine. You don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed to know that is never going to happen, and that Z would never have said that. Because, by the way, he's going to invade Taiwan and soon, and he is delighted that Putin went into Ukraine because it clears the ground for him, and it destroys America and NATO cohesiveness and credibility. So he's delighted that he did so. And it bonded the two leaders, Putin and Z. In fact, Putin is the next visitor to Z just this coming week. He would never have said that because he knows that's not true. Putin didn't want to go into Ukraine. He was given no choice. America taunted him such that his survival and the very survival of Russia was at stake, just as Europe continues to taunt Russia, such that Russia's survival will be depending upon Russia, whether or not Russia will lash out and actually start dropping missiles and drones on Europe. And so he knows why Russia's in Ukraine, was to defend Russians in Ukraine. And he knows that it was a setup by the West, particularly by the United States. And he is never going to say that he is going to side with America in the International Criminal Court against Putin. And so somebody decided to fact check this and ask the Chinese whether or not it was true. And if he said it, he would mean it. They would say, of course, that's what he said. No, what did they say? It is completely false.
Completely false.
Trump lies. Everything that comes out of his mouth is confabulation. But the media has Putinitis. They just love to hate Putin, and they have no idea that it's the United States that is the villain in that case. It's not Russia.
I thought the next one you had was the Putinitis one. This,
yeah, it is. In this particular case, we do have Z and Putin are going to get together. I don't know if it's later this week or early next week, but it's the next visitor. So, right before Donald Trump, it was the foreign minister of Iran. And then right after him, it's Putin. So you don't have to be a genius to figure which side China is, right? Okay. So and the whole thing with Trump was disastrous. So what I want people to have an appreciation is that in America, because the media is owned and run by the military-industrial complex and the bankers that want to make all the money through war, that they have a vested interest in turning Russia, China, Iran into bad guys, because you control people if you have a common enemy, and you make money if you go to war. And so they want to make it a competition between China and the United States, or Russia and the United States, and for one to win this competition, the other one must lose. That's just not true. To have vibrant economies around the world, everybody needs to win. Trump's idea that the deal that he wants to create with Iran is have everybody surrender. He wrote a big post and said, I want to see them with their hands up and a white flag. And no. If you aren't smart enough to recognize that there is no deal that's even worth the ink that it's written on, if it isn't mutually beneficial, then you just ought not to ever brag about the art of a deal. All deals should be mutually beneficial. And when they're not mutually beneficial, they aren't worth anything to anybody, because one side will cheat on it immediately, if not both. And that's what's happened. Anything that Donald Trump does is not a deal. And what I point out here, what I want to make is that Russia and China do not view the United States as an adversary. They do not view the United States as a economic competitor.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even view Europe as an adversary or economic competitor. They realize that the best hope for the world is for us to work together and get along, and us to sell things to one another and buy things from one another and stop killing one another. That's what they would like. Mm-hmm. And since Russia and China are so successful today by comparison to the United States, and since they're on the right side of all of this, they do not want the United States to crumble. Because when the United States crumbles, they're going to take Europe with them. And when the United States and Europe falls, Russia and China lose their market. And China overproduces for China. And Russia overproduces for Russia. They don't want to lose their market. They know that the United States and Europe are going to crumble. It's inevitable, and it's going to happen in the next 5 years. They know it's going to happen. The longer they can postpone it, the happier they would be. Because their people, their countries, their industry prospers so long as there is a America and Europe left. And when they crater, it's bad for everybody. So their view of the world is the opposite of America's and the U.S. media's. They're not plotting the demise. The U.S. is plotting the demise of Russia and China and Iran, and the Iranians, the Russians, and the Chinese are trying to figure out how they can delay the demise of America and Europe so that the landing is as soft as possible.
Yeah. Hey guys, we just want to sell you stuff cheaper than you can make it, says China, and Russia's very clearly saying, hey, we just want to supply you with cheaper energy than you can get anywhere else. So why are we adversarial here? You know,
and uranium and titanium and all the rare earths and all of those kinds of things. We're trying to sell you things that have value to you cheaper than you're buying them by a multiple of 3, 4, 5 times, so that your economies don't crater. We want to do business with you, and what you want to do is you want us to forfeit all of that. You just want to steal it by destroying us.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world is going on here? Why would you do that? What's your mindset here? What's your plan? What is your goal? Where is it? Where does this lead? If it wasn't for the fact that both Xi and Putin don't want the America and Europe to fail, they would already be obliterated for all the horrible things they have done.
Yeah. I think you talking the other day about Europe is really going to get it in a bad way. They just don't realize it yet. I don't even know what this thing is. What is
it's Obama's library.
Right.
And it's the most hideously ugly. I mean, it's hard to imagine anybody between landscape and building creating something that hideously ugly. It has no class, that has no imagination, and that president had no ability. And yet today, no looks damn good by comparison, doesn't it?
To what we have. Yes, I would absolutely take. Oh gosh, I can't believe I'd say that, but yeah,
I can't even believe I'd say that. He was a Marxist. He had no skill, but and he was probably a Muslim. He was a Muslim Marxist before his time, and he had no experience of any kind that would be of any value. Never even asked, would you like fries with that burger? Never worked a day in his life, and it became a multimillionaire as a result of the corruption of the American political system. And by comparison to Donald Trump, he looks damn near saintly.
Right. Better than Satan. Literally the lesser of two evils, right?
You know, I thought that Cackles being run for as vice president for president was among the dumbest moves in the history of dumb.
Yeah.
And you look at her and say, oh my God, can you imagine her as president? I mean, she literally had nothing going for her. I mean, she was stupid on top of being completely inexperienced and having absolutely no skill set that you could bring to the office. None. And you realize that by comparison to the man who is essentially the Antichrist, she would have been better. How can a country have fallen to the point where a complete mental midget without any honor, morality, intelligence, rationality would be better than what you got?
Yeah.
But it's true. Sad what happens to America. That's why
I guess Chicago deserved this then. Whatever that is, Chicago deserved it because it's way outside of their skyline there, you know.
I tell you what, that makes the Tesla Cybertruck look good.
Right.
Shifting power balance in the Mideast as Pakistan sends forces to Saudi Arabia. First of all, that has nothing to do with a shift in power balances, does it? The fact of the matter is that the Arab fiefdoms are nothing but paper tigers. That this petrodollar scheme that took thugs and turned them into emirs and princes and kings is nothing more than an economic scheme that was perpetrated by the United States so that the United States could deficit spend without consequence. That is the entire scheme of this thing, is to create the illusion that the United States would protect the thugs, the criminal enterprises and family dictators over these Arab Sunni fiefdoms, private estates with flags. And that as a result of the American military protection for the families that are the dictators, that they would agree to sell all products in dollars so that the U.S. could force other nations to hold dollars, which means that even with huge deficits, the value of the dollar would not show the full consequence of having been destroyed. That was the scheme. Trump's stupidity in bombing Iran a second time to keep Iran from having what it did not have and now will have, has destroyed all of that. Now, it didn't have any merit previously, but what it did have is it was the only thing keeping the United States afloat economically. And it's gone. And it's destroying economies around the world. It's having a huge impact on food. You know, that Trump is all excited that that Z for the second time says, oh, sure, we'll buy soybeans from you. We can't produce them. You know why we can't produce soybeans?
No
we don't have any fertilizer. No fertilizer. And without fertilizer, you can't sell the soybeans. By the way, the tractors don't want to run either because they need lubricants, and America's out of lubricants. Got no lubricants for the tractors, and we got no fertilizer for the soil. We can't grow the soybeans to sell them any soybeans. The closing of the straits to the shipment of fertilizer has been more consequential than the inability to distribute inexpensive fossil fuels, not fossil fuels, but hydrocarbons to Europe and other places around the world. It was an absolute disaster, but it destroyed America's presence. It exposed America as a really horrible ally, which everyone should have known already. I mean, look what we did in Afghanistan. Look what we did in Iraq. Look what we did in Libya. We're a horrible ally. And so it exposed America as a fraud. They destroyed American bases. America is not going back. And they're desperate because these fiefdoms have created nothing but dependence. Nobody works. You know, looking at the countries that look like, you know, postage stamps, but that soar to the sky, it's because of slave labor. People don't work. So in those countries, they have hundreds of billions of dollars of American weapons. They don't know how to use them.
Right.
And so now you go to Pakistan, which has always been a country reliant on bribes. It has never been a functional country. And you know, to pretend like it's a country that has a secular government, or an independent government, is absurd. It's a military state. And the military state is functional because the United States gives them the military hardware to dictate over their people. And so the Pakistanis, well, they can't run a country and they can't run an economy, and they're bankrupt. I mean, they can't pay their debts. All the Pakistanis can do is go to someone like the Saudis and say, if you give us billions of dollars, we'll provide some men who know how to use some of your weapons, because the Saudis can't field anyone to fly the airplanes or to man the defensive systems or the offensive systems. There's no one in Saudi Arabia that can use them. And so the Pakistani says, well, we'll sell you that. So the Pakistanis, by doing that, have also shown that this negotiation where the Iranians are going to use Pakistan as a neutral party, I'm sorry, but Iran and Saudi Arabia aren't on the same side on this. And if the Pakistanis are going to send forces to Saudi Arabia, who are they opposing?
Yeah. They can't be a neutral party. Yeah. They can't be a neutral party to any of those silly negotiations.
America's idea that we're going to negotiate through the Pakistanis on behalf of the Iranians, that got blown to smithereens, didn't it? We can't use the Omanis anymore because the Omanis actually have formed close relationships with the Saudis.
Yeah.
So we have no communication with Iran, and this just destroyed whatever little there was left. Unintended consequences is what happens when you don't think.
Right. So, did you pull out the word, the very, very English word piker? I'm confused on this. That's the only word, the only place I ever hear that is like from the English, the really English, you know? Piker.
It's a piker, as I understand the term, and I don't know if it has any derogatory meaning other than you'd call a piker somebody who is a midget among giants, a guy that is shooting spitwads when opposing somebody with a bazooka. It's like me trying to play golf against Phil Mickelson. I would be a piker. If you took my business prowess and you put it up against Jack Welch or Edison, I'm going to be a piker in their league.
Right.
And so I always thought that was what the term means. If I've used it incorrectly, then, shame on me. But the fact is that they're saying, this person is saying, I never thought that we would ever reach a period where someone like a Hitler could brainwash millions. And what they don't realize is that has always been the case. Look at Muhammad. Look at Mao Zedong and communist China. It's always been the case that the people are easily brainwashed. They're easily misled. And it is common for most people to be misled most of the time. But my point here with the Donald Trump is that because he is Rahab, the final corporeal manifestation of Satan, that overall his influence will be worse than Paul's, worse than Muhammad's, worse than Akiba's, worse than Hitler's, worse than Stalin's, worse than Mao's, worse than the Khan's, worse than any of the Roman emperors. He will be the single most deadly and destructive, demonic and damning man who has ever lived. You are looking at Satan incarnate. You're looking at the man that's going to bring the world to his knees its knees, and his popularity will continue to be exclaimed throughout Israel, which is the only place at the end where he will be popular, and then he will deceive them. And I'm the first to recognize that he is the Torahless one, that he is Rahab, that he is the great betrayer of Israel, and prove it. And I am the one who gets to bring him down in the end. So I guess it's fair.
Yeah, I always thought that
Go ahead.
we were one good charismatic leader away from World War III, and this guy has no charisma. He has no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
No, he can't deliver speech.
Leaders.
No, he cannot rally anyone. He cannot give a speech to save his soul. He can't even convey a press conference without stepping all over himself.
Yeah.
He is lost in a world of confabulation. There's literally no correlation between what he believes and says and reality. On the war in Iran, he has postponed annihilating them now 40 times in the last 40 days.
2 more weeks. 2 more weeks.
Oh, my God. As I said, you can't call him Taco anymore. It's got to be Tuco.
It's
Trump
Tuco,
usually chickens out because sometimes he actually does stupid stuff.
Get somebody else killed, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. This is the Tuco.
Yeah. So he's saying he's going to postpone it again. He was saying, "Oh, we're going to go get them again." And this time, of course, he's claiming that he got a phone call from the leaders of the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, and he actually knows those people's names. That's because they're, I guess, his bankroll. But and they said, "Oh, you've got to postpone and this aggression." And he says, because, the negotiations are going so well that the Iranians are dying to sign an agreement and they're going to be surrendering. So we ought to postpone it.
Any moment now, they're going to surrender.
So
how long does it take to surrender? Exactly.
First half of that's true. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, MBS particular, Emir and the UAE, they're scared spitless.
Mm-hmm.
Their gig is damn near up. One more round and they're gone.
Mm.
The Iranians will destroy their desalination plants, their electric facilities, and their oil distribution facilities. And the gig is up. There's nothing left. And the people, because they can't even retaliate against the Iranians on behalf of the Americans or the Israelis without their own people killing them. So they'll be assassinated by their own people. And their countries will be turned to rubble. Back to, it won't be the Stone Age, but the Sand Age. That is where we are in all of this. And so, they're desperate. They said, don't attack again. Because there is nothing that these Arab countries can do. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They can't defend themselves against Iran, and they can't defend themselves against their own people if they were to try. That's the mess that has been made here. And they're going bankrupt and going through the reserves at a prodigious rate. And if Trump starts bombing Iran again, it'll be over for them. And they know it.
Yeah.
As for Iran negotiating and wanting to do a deal with America or thinking about surrendering, it's complete nonsense. The Iranians have won this war in every possible way. They won the war of public opinion. They won the war economically. They won the war militarily. And the Strait of Hormuz will never be opened again as it was previously. There'll always be a toll booth, a tariff plan. Going forward, it'll always be Iranian control. And Iran has more oil that has value than any other country in the world, and almost by a huge margin. And particularly now that they control Iraq, it's almost 3 times the next most prosperous country as it relates to oil.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time. They're going to have a nuclear bomb if they don't already have it. And they already have Israel and the Arab Gulf states quaking. And they beat the United States militarily. So No, the Iranians, they're not going to surrender. And that government, the current government has never been more popular than it is in Iran right now.
Yeah, nothing like American bombs falling on your head to really root for the home team, right?
Yeah, it's a disaster. You know, one of the most interesting people is one of the most useless people in the world. When I first recognized him, I admired him for Tesla because I thought that that creating a business from essentially nothing was extraordinary, and all the obstacles you have to overcome. And so I thought Tesla was a really inventive thing, and I admired him for it until I realized that Tesla is really a house of cards, that Tesla is overvalued by 1,000 times, 1,000 times overvalued, and that Tesla is going to have no value in 5 years. It has nothing. The most recent vehicles are completely undesirable. It's overwhelmingly outproduced by the Chinese electric vehicles. It only survives in America because of the duties of 100% on Chinese electric vehicles. And so if it wasn't for government subsidies, Tesla wouldn't exist in the United States even today. SpaceX has nothing, literally nothing. It's never going anywhere. It's not going to establish bases on the moon. It's not going to establish bases on Mars. It's got nothing. Starlink is a nice thing, but when you consider the number of satellites in which you charge, I don't know how you ever make that. That's not a profitable thing. It's a control thing.
Yes.
The whole thing is a house of cards. And it's going to completely collapse. It's grotesquely overpriced. It's all promoted by hype. And when he decided to get into politics around Trump, he destroyed himself. He was completely eaten up and spit out. And he found out that without government subsidies, his businesses crumble. And without his sucking up to Trump, he becomes the public enemy of the world. And he can't sell his cars anymore. But he's lied about everything. He's just nothing but hype. And X is a cesspool. He wants to believe that X is the bastion of free speech, and he saved free speech. X is a complete waste. I mean, it is literally an anti-Semitic cesspool. I haven't been to X in 4 months, and I'm thrilled that I never have to go back to X. I'm sad that Facebook has become X, and that there is really no social media platform, and YouTube is a complete and utter waste of time. The only reason we actually post anything on Facebook is to feed the website with these blogs so we can talk about them, and YouTube only to play these videos. But if we say anything controversial, we have to put it someplace else because YouTube has an absolute conniption fit over the truth. Lies, no problem. The truth, not so much. This whole world is crumbling, and this is a man that will be absolute broke because his rate of spending money only works when there's this artificial valuation of his businesses, and that's all going to come to a crashing halt. We'll do one more and then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
These are Christians. They're all got their hands up in the sky. I got my cowboy hat. I don't know what that is in his hand, but praise the Lord, praise the Lord. A national monument behind us, politics and religion, bring it all together.
An Egyptian obelisk. Yes.
Obelisk, behind you. Yeah, you're not stupid enough to figure that out. But everybody else got their hands up, so I'll put mine up too. I don't know. Are they surrendering or I don't know. But why are they looking up when their godforsaken God was a man? Shouldn't they be looking down?
Yeah.
You got a religion where your God is a man. A man that men killed. Not much of a God. Don't be looking up in the sky. That God's not in the sky.
Yeah.
Your God was a mythical man. Give it up. Trump prayer rally. Oh boy, I pray for the rapist. I pray for the pedophile.
Pedophile.
I pray for the
Mhm.
man that is bribed. I pray for the mass murderer. Yeah, I
Isn't
pray
that the
for
gimmick, though?
I
That
pray for the liar. Oh
the
my God,
forgiveness.
he is the Messiah. He is our Savior. Yeah, I voted for Trump. He's the man who can confabulate better than Trump. The art of the steal.
The heart of the my phone is going to be here in 2 more weeks. My gold phone, it's going to be here in 2 more weeks.
Oh yeah, your Trump gold phone and your Trump gold card and your Trump Bitcoin and on and on it goes. Trumpitis to the max.
God,
and where's your MAGA next term? Trump 48, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And Trump we praise. In Trump's name we pray. I mean, how could you have a worse idol than the man who is literally the incarnation of Satan? And that's what Christianity has become. Oh my. Stunning, isn't it?
It is. It coming full circle that way, that Christianity will worship their satanic creator. You know, they just don't realize it yet. They're it's
So
like
Satan was the one who inspired Paul. Paul admits it. He was demon possessed. Into the 2nd chapter of Corinthians. You're not smart enough to know that that's what it says. Then shame on you. But Paul admits that he is demon possessed, and that is Satan who influences him. Muhammad said exactly the same thing. And so Trump, Paul, Muhammad, all share that in common. It's satanic. So I guess the satanic religion of Christianity ought to find great joy in worshiping Satan as POTUS and Lord Satan.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Well, that one's not fair, because I'm a big fan of the halal Yahowah.
Yeah,
okay,
but
so,
hallelujah is appropriate for this because guess what? Halal is Satan's first name.
Yep.
Everything that sponsors, Satan corrupts. Halal means to reflect the light, and so Satan is the flashy one who's the god of religion. Halal, Ben Shakar.
Ben Shakar. Yep.
Yeah. So that's Satan's name, Halal Ben Shakar. And so halal, while it has positive connotations, means reflect light. And Yah is the short form of Yahweh's name. So hallelujah would be to reflect Yah's light. The fact is that in the hallelujah chorus and in the common vernacular, it is praise to Satan. It's essentially calling Satan God. With the Egyptian obelisk to the Freemason, there in the background. It's just hard to believe how far we have fallen.
It won't be long. I mean, there's absolutely, even people that don't subscribe to any religion, to anything, there is no one out there that's saying things are getting better. Things are getting better. I mean, there's the false that idea of hope that people have when they're, because that's all you have in the right. But there's no one out there saying that things are better. Things are heading into a right direction. No, absolutely no one.
We're not making America great again. If you believe that, then you have your head in the wrong place. I have a question for you. You're using a USB mic there. It's a very popular mic you see in a lot of programs now. It's very different than what I've got here, which is done with the XLR cables. This is a studio caliber mic. And you can plug yours directly into your computer, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Your PC. You don't. We go into some fancy sound processing boxes before it can be streamed into the computer with the XLR feeds. It's not particularly expensive either, was it?
This one wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't, I think it was $170 or something. It's the Blue Yeti. So it's a mid range,
Right. But $170, and you don't have to buy like our 4-slot audio processing boxes, which is what we need when we're doing a show like this. They're $900, and this is a Shure 7B mic with the built-in amplifier, so it's $1,000 mic, and so it's a couple of $1,000, and then extra for cables and that sort of thing, versus under $200, 1/10.
Yeah.
And it works very well.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't require much expertise to plug and play, does it?
Nope. It's tons of functions that I don't even use, because it's all I need to do is talk into it from this direction for one person and let Rich tell me to turn it up or turn it down a little bit. That's it. So,
Yes.
all the other stuff is.
And it's got knobs right on it for turning it up and turning it down.
Yeah.
So that's for those who are thinking about doing their variation of the show, which I'm strongly recommending they do it from a laptop. And I like the Rich mini cam on top of the laptop, because it doesn't need any programming. It doesn't need, you don't have to focus it. You don't have to worry about the aperture. You don't have to worry about the brightness and the contrast of your background. But that would be a really nice microphone to go along with it. And you get a set of ears. You can buy the ears anywhere from $10 to $30, and you're set. And now you've got a professional look, and you can look at your laptop and have the StreamYard feed or a document that you can share from. Which in a really professional position to deliver a high quality podcast as a contributor to Yahowah.
Yeah, I would even go to monitors are so stupidly cheap nowadays, and most of the laptops you buy have an HDMI out that gives you another monitor that you can set your StreamYard feed on another monitor. You can have your presentation typed up in front of you and use it so you're looking at the camera as monitors are.
That's what I've got here. I've got a monitor that has a camera above it that is for this kind of a show when I'm talking to you or we're reviewing the news together, and it's there. My monitor for, and I got dual monitors for the script if we're going to do a luminary series, and it actually feeds into a teleprompter with a camera sitting behind it, so I can share the translations. And there's a camera right behind the translation. It's and none of it's prohibitively expensive,
right?
And so I encourage people to think about what they may want to do. I think we're going to have the opportunity to do vlogs on behalf of Yahowah, to write and to share on behalf of Yahowah for the next 1,000 years. So you can get a pretty good return on investment over 1,000 years.
Hey, wandered through the wilderness, and the shoes didn't wear out for 40 years. So I'm thinking that my mic, I won't need the protection plan, right?
I don't think so. I think we'll be just fine, and it works beautifully for what we're doing here. So I thank you again for a vlog on a vlog. We went over 2 hours today. That's a long vlog on a vlog, but I can't wait to get back to my translations. I'm going to finish Yeshaya 30, and with that, the publication really of 2, maybe even all 3 volumes in their present state. All we need now is some cover art, which the team is pretty good at creating that at this point. But we're going to have a volume 4 of Coming Home called Bashar Herald, volume 5 of Coming Home, which is Mashal Word Picture, and volume 6 of Coming Home, which is Maorth Luminaries. And they are about 420 pages, 580 pages, and in its present form, about 400 pages. Although the last one is going to expand considerably as we delve into Ruth as soon as we finish our story of Noach. So that's where we are. And we're only 2 days now from the beginning of the time of Israel's troubles and the official observant of Shabuw'ah. Interesting times. So thank you. We have Perry behind the controls. We have Wookie as the associate director at the moment. And Kevin, thank you. And we'll meet again tomorrow. And just one last thought. When we have Odie as our guest, give me a little heads up, because I definitely want to be able to walk through that magnificent theatrical production that he did on Dust to Fire. I find that so enormously inspiring and so uplifting and so beneficial that I want to walk through it. I just want to hear him, if it's he and Leah, I want to hear their thoughts as to how they came up with these images, and were they really aware of all the little subtleties that were in this? Because it's really magnificent when you examine it closely. And for those who are listening, you posted it. By the way, it's not on our music page, so I don't know why that's not happening. But you posted it in a topic in the chat, and and I wrote a 5-page analysis of the visuals plus the lyrics, and I would encourage people to read through that analysis of those visuals prior to the performance, so they're up to speed as to how truly insightful and magnificent that work was. So I'm hoping we get Odie here as in the program before too long. And I understand our next guest will be Captain Kirk. And
Wednesday Shannon, and then Thursday's Captain Kirk.
So. Oh, right. Oh, good. I'm going to be delighted to see Shannon again. And so it's Shannon and then Captain Kirk on that's Wednesday and Thursday. So and the Friday show will be interesting because it's Friday at 12:30 will be that's when the time of trouble. That's Shabuw'ah time, baby.
I wanted to avoid that. Oh no.
Yeah,
there was some talk about live streaming Shabuw'ah, and things, and I was kind of
that's all because Leah is it's ready to check out and says, I think she wants to go in the worst way, and my view is, oh yeah, it would be nice to have a vacation, but I've read the text. I don't get a vacation, and there's so damn much to do. And so much time after that, well, we do get a vacation, but it's 1,000 years postponed. And there's so much to do between now and then, and to have souls like Dr. Jeff, they do not come easy.
Yeah,
that is a long labor of love, and the longer we have to cultivate that, the better. And so, my preference is that we're here for the next year. And I think that's going to be the case. So I don't have any problem live streaming it because we're not going anywhere right now. Okay. Although Leah might get up from the chair and say, "Ooh, I'm gone."
See ya.
We'll have Rich Perry do some camera magic, and poof, there she is.
Right.
She's gone. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm out of here.
Right. Alma goes first.
I'm gonna go first. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk tomorrow with Shannon, and then with Captain Kirk, and we'll see what happens on Friday. Thank you again.
Hey there! Thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch Yao on our next podcast.